Ms. McQuillan,
Here.
Mr. Hales,
Here.
Mr. Thomas,
Here.
Mr. Fraley.
Aye. I said aye, I meant here.
Yes.
Thank you, Lenny.
I got you. Mr. Chairman, before we start with the items on the agenda, we do have three requests for continuances. The first one is from the continued item Norfolk Premium Outlets for the following applications on property generally bounded on the north by Command Corporate Center Park and South Cape Henry Road, to the east by the City of Virginia Beach, and to the south by Lake Wright, and the west by Interstate 64. Those three applications include an amendment to the city's general plan, a zoning text amendment to create the Norfolk Premium Outlets localized alternative sign overlay district, and a change of zoning from OSP, Open Space Preservation, to an I2 to C3 Retail Center, and to impose the localized sign overlay district. Second item requesting a continuance is regular item number 6, Overbrook Ventures, for a change of zoning from R8 to conditional R9, property that is located at 2817 through 2821 Overbrook Avenue. Those two items are requesting to go to the July public hearing, the date of which is July 24th at 2:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers. Third application, regular item number 8, New Singular Wireless PCS LLC, to amend a previously granted special exception to operate a communication tower on property located at 1311 Bayville, is requesting that it be continued until our public hearing in September. The date of that one is September 25th. So the motion before you is to continue those three items to the dates noted in the public hearings of July 24, 2014, and of September 25th, 2014 at 2:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers, 11th floor, City Hall Building, Civic Center, Norfolk, Virginia. Dr. Newman,
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan,
Aye.
Mr. Hales,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Fraley.
Aye.
All right. We will now turn to the regular agenda, and starting with item number 1, which is a request by the Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority for the following applications on property fronting 250 feet more or less along the eastern line of Church Street, 103 feet more or less along the southern line of East 29th Street, and 103 feet more or less along the northern line of East 28th Street. First application is amendment to the city's future land use map within the general plan, Plan Norfolk 2030, to change from single-family traditional to multifamily corridor. And the second application is a change of zoning from R11 multifamily to R10 and to the Church Street Townhouse Overlay District.
And I think that we did receive a letter of support from the Villa Heights Civic League for this particular application.
Yes, we did.
And I need to note that here to answer questions, available to speak if necessary, is Mr. Nat McCormick from NRHA. Thanks, Nat, for being here.
Mr. Chair, noting that there's no opposition and we've been thoroughly briefed, I call for the question.
All right, the motion is to recommend that the general plan map amendment and the changes of zoning be approved. Dr. Newman,
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan,
Aye.
Mr. Hales,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Fraley.
Aye, and we'll make that recommendation to council. Thank you. Looking forward to that project, Nat.
The next application before us is by the City of Norfolk for the following applications. A is a text amendment to amend the following sections of the zoning ordinance, Section 2-3 definitions, Table 5-A, Table of Land Uses for Office and Business Commerce Districts, Table 5B, Dimensional Standards for Office and Business Commerce Districts, Table 6A, Table of Land Uses for Commercial Districts, Table 7A, Table of Land Uses for Industrial Districts, Table 8A, Table of Land Uses for Downtown Districts, and Table 11-24A, Table of Land Uses for the Riverview Pedestrian Commercial Overlay District. Second application is a change of zoning from O1 Office District to BC1 Business and Commerce Park. district on 17.6 acre parcel located at the northwest corner of Interstate 64 and Northampton Boulevard. Property is generally bounded to the south by Northampton Boulevard and Lake Wright, to the west by Lake Wright, and to the north and east by Lake Wright and Interstate 64. Premises 6,000 Northampton Boulevard.
No opposition.
None. I do note there is no opposition.
All right. The motion is to recommend that the text amendments and the change of zoning be approved. Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan?
Aye.
Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
All right. Moving to item number 3, this is by the City Planning Commission for an amendment to Chapter 42.5 of the Code of Norfolk, 1979, entitled Subdivisions, to make the submission of a preliminary subdivision plat optional in order to comply with a change in state law.
Mr. Chair, noting that there's no opposition and we've been thoroughly briefed, I call for the question.
The motion is to recommend that the amendment to Chapter 42.5 subdivisions of the city code be approved. Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan?
Aye.
Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
All right. Now we move to item number 4, City Planning Commission for a text amendment to the city's zoning ordinance to amend sections 2-3 definitions and 13-2 fences and walls to modify the requirements for fences.
Bobby?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This text amendment is a request to amend the zoning ordinance to essentially allow fences and walls be located closer to a property line when the property is located on a corner or what's considered a through lot. Recently, the planning department has received a number of concerns from citizens wanting to apply a privacy fence or install a privacy fence on these types of properties, and this request is to try to address those in a safe manner. Also, with this request, we'll be clarifying some terminology, and we'll also be able to revise the definition of corner lot to address that the location of the primary entrance of the building can also be considered the front yard of the building, of the lot, so that a fence can be located closer on what they would consider their side yard. And I'll kind of explain that. The existing regulations now for the fences, normally on a corner lot, on that side yard that's adjacent to the street, the fence would be required to be set back 10 feet normally from the property line. On through lots, they're considered, that's when a property is bounded on the front and the rear by a street or a right-of-way. They're normally typically have what's considered 2 front yards on both of those streets. Now, if the majority of those houses face the same street with their driveways and the front door, then we've also considered, there's been a zoning determination to allow for fences and other things to get closer, and that not necessarily be considered a front yard when it's their backyard. Okay. Here's a sketch of the existing regulations for corner lots. As you can see, the side yard adjacent to the street, there's a 10-foot setback in order for a property owner to install a 6-foot privacy fence. Again, the amendments are to address 6-foot solid or 6-foot privacy fences. Anything that's within that 10 feet on that corner side yard or the side yard adjacent to a street, they are permitted to install a 6-foot open fence in order to enclose the yard at this time. In the front yard, they are required to only install a 4-foot open fence. And here noted are also the sight triangles, where if there are any visual obstructions, of course at this time, the way the rules are written, there are no visual obstructions, no fences are permitted to block that sight triangle at this moment. Existing through lots, again, there's a street on both sides, what's considered the front and the rear. Typically, if all the residences face in the same direction, so let's say, as per this sketch, all of them face the same direction as this house, that rear yard adjacent to a street would allow someone to install a 6-foot privacy fence, 10-foot setback from the property line. Anything that's within that setback, they would be permitted to do a 6-foot open fence in order for them to enclose that rear yard. And again, this is when 80% of the lots face the same direction in order to not cause any obstructions or sighting issues when houses face different lots or different streets. The proposed regulations will allow to have privacy fences located closer to the side and rear yards adjacent to a street. In order to be eligible, how we've crafted this is to make sure that this will be a safe situation. In order for a property to be eligible for it, the speed limit of the road adjacent that abut this property must be less than 30 miles per hour, and each right-of-way or street abutting the property must be 2 lanes or less. And in order for zoning staff to review the safety concerns, there is a survey that must be submitted that also not just includes the improvements on the property, but also improvements in the right-of-way and other driveways that may be obstructions or concerns. If a property is eligible to have a fence located closer to the street, there are certain conditions that will be applied to these fences. The fence can be no closer than 3 feet from the property line on this side adjacent to a street. The area between the fence, that 3 feet area, and the property line must be landscaped. The finished side of the fence must face out towards the street. The fence must have a cap. Again, this is only if they want to apply for this closer fence. The fence must have a cap on it that goes the length of the fence. And on corner lots, the fence cannot extend past the rearmost portion of the house, so they won't have a solid fence that encapsulates up to the very front of the house. And if an applicant does not want to apply by these standards, they can apply for a special exception to get approval from City Council.
Bobby,
Yes, sir.
define or describe for me a fence cap.
Fence cap, I actually have an example a little bit further along, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Let me finish with these regulations.
Go right ahead.
For you, okay? Regardless of the approval, whether it's by special exception or administrative approval, the fence will be limited to not being any taller than 6 feet and also cannot block any sight triangles. Okay? Sight distance triangles are where we have the ability to have a vehicle come out to not impact any of cars coming on and oncoming traffic and also pedestrians. So that sight distance triangle is very important to maintain safety for the people, not just the person wanting to enclose their yard with a solid fence. I apologize, I have the incorrect slide up here. The sight triangle I have located at the street as if there was no sidewalk there, so I apologize. This actually should be set in at your spots. I do have the updated sketch that shows where it will be measured from the sidewalk. As far as the sight triangle in these circumstances, when there is a sidewalk, the sight triangle is measured from the intersection of the sidewalk and the driveway. So it would be measured 10 foot back from that intersection, not from the street, not from the actual pavement. That area there, they will not be able to put a solid fence in order to allow for people to continue to see as they back out and watch out for the people that are on the sidewalk or any oncoming traffic. Again, as you can see on this side yard adjacent to the street, a 6-foot open fence would still be permitted. And the 6-foot privacy fence or solid fence would have to stop at the rearmost corner of the residence. As far as through lots, again, I apologize, I have the wrong sketch up here. You have at your stations, or at your seats, the corrected sketch. This is actually, again, moved back. The 10-foot sight triangle is measured from the intersection of the driveway and from the sidewalk, not from the edge of pavement in this circumstance. Anything that's within that sight triangle would not be permitted to be solid to provide an obstruction for view for vehicle. But again, 3 foot up to the property line, they'd have to do 50% open fence, but 3 foot setback, they could do a solid fence based on these regulations. And again, this situation, the majority of the houses on this block face would have to face the same direction in order for them to do this. If there are houses in certain neighborhoods, they are sited where they face the opposite streets, flip-flopping back and forth, this would not be permitted. They would be considered a front yard for those properties, and they would have to do what's required for front yards, which would be a 4-foot open fence. An example of a cap, going to your question,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, a cap goes across the top. It provides a finish to the fence. Essentially would not allow for dog ear style fencing. Most typical vinyl fences will already have some type of cap similar to this. This would end up being more of a feature that would be required for anything that's handmade by wood. So Again, it's just the finish on top of the fence. And again, the current regulations do not require the finished side of the fence to face out. So if you meet the current regulations, we have not, you can put the fence how you wish. If you plan to be closer to the property line in this situation, you would have to face the finished side out.
This also applies to shrubbery that serves as a fence, does it not?
Currently, right now, the zoning ordinance does not apply these setbacks to shrubbery. It does apply to obstructions in a site triangle. Anything that's in a site triangle that is causing an obstruction, the zoning ordinance does say that it cannot be there. And so shrubbery will be removed in that fashion to protect the site triangle. Unfortunately, this time, it does not address vegetation that's used as a fence. With these revisions to the ordinance and with the safety concerns, staff does recommend approval of these changes.
Thank you, Bobby. Any questions, Mr. Tahan?
Yeah, I've got one, Bobby. Can your neighbor's site triangle impact your fence in your yard
Yes,
fence? So
Yes.
if I've got to take his site triangle in account when I build my fence.
that's correct. What happens is when staff will review, if you want to get closer to the property line on these sides adjacent to a street, the survey is required to locate any adjacent driveways within 10 feet so that we can make assure that there is no safety concern. If they meet the requirements, what is required of them to be a 10-foot setback, which is currently in place, that is not a concern because the site triangle is already addressed with that setback. But to get closer, they would have to show us that it's not there.
My next question is on I'll tell you which one, the corner lot
Yes, sir.
drawing. On the right side of the residence, if you're facing the front of the house, you can only put up a 6-foot fence with 50% open on that side there.
Yes, sir.
What's the purpose of that? Just so you can see inside to the house?
Well, what had previously happened on a side yard adjacent to a street, the zoning ordinance only permitted a 4-foot open fence. The Board of Zoning Appeals in the late 80s, early 90s was receiving a number of requests for variances from the public to allow for a taller fence that would allow for people to keep their animals, larger animals in. Staff came forward with a recommendation to change that requirement in these side yards adjacent to a street to raise the fence to a 6-foot, but still be open to relieve any obstructions. So typically in other localities, unlike ours that are already lotted out, when they create a corner lot, they're normally required to be much larger and that both sides are considered front yards. Because of our lotting pattern, we have a bit of a restraint or a constraint on our development, so we have to provide a different setback there.
Bobby, how do we tackle enforcement on this?
One at a time, sir. No, staff does regularly do, when they do their regular inspections, they do see whenever a fence is installed. Corner lots and through lots are required to get a zoning certificate, which is approval prior to installation. If there is one that is being installed without a zoning certificate, staff does flag it and give them a notice of violation to come into compliance.
It was through enforcement that we were energized to come up with these amendments.
And fences that are already installed today that do not comply with this, they can remain as they are, or are they going to have to change them?
There are some fences that would be considered grandfathered to the existing rules now. If they are sitting closer to the property line at this moment, they are currently grandfathered because there is nothing that allows them to be closer. So there are some fences that we do have in a holding pattern at this moment that will be required to comply with these requirements because they have been notified they are in violation.
Bobby, looking through the text, the definitions section for the site triangle, it looks like it still defines it as the property line rather than from the inside of the sidewalk. Am I reading that incorrectly?
I do not have an updated one. Did you?
I'm looking at the one that's on the packet yesterday. Has that been changed since? It was
Yes, sir. We updated, Adam and I updated to clarify the language to make it cleaner. It does state, you have the most recent one? Can you get it?
Yeah, Bobby informed me yesterday, late yesterday, that that this item would be presented, and there were some revisions that we needed to do. So I worked with him earlier today on the revised exhibits that you have at your seats, but didn't make it into the packet, as well as revising the language so that if there is a sidewalk, you're measuring from the sidewalk. If there's not a sidewalk, you're measuring from the edge of the pavement. So we do have that in the draft ordinance that our office has prepared.
Mr. Thomas, there are three cases. And in the case of intersections or of driveways that are coming out onto streets that have more than 2 lanes or have a speed limit of 30 miles an hour or higher, then we are measuring from property lines, not from sidewalk or edge of pavement. So that first paragraph that paragraph A is correct.
Okay.
In that's the condition that is in fact measured from property line. The paragraphs B and C are measured from either the edge of pavement or the rear edge of the sidewalk, as the case may be.
Why do we have two different rules? What changes based on the speed when you're backing out of a driveway?
It's based on the speed and the number of lanes, the site triangle becomes larger, and so it's a more dangerous situation because things are approaching more quickly, and so therefore drivers need to have more advance warning, both drivers that are in the travel lane of the road as well as those that are either backing out or pulling out onto the roadway.
So if there's a sidewalk there, you're saying on those roads that have 2 lanes in each direction, you're measuring from the street or the property line rather than the sidewalk? I just want to make sure I understand.
And those
In
are
almost every case, the sidewalk is in the city's right-of-way. So if you're measuring from the property line, you're measuring either from the back of the sidewalk or in some cases a little further.
And if I recall correctly, those properties that are on either the higher speed streets or the wider streets are not eligible to put the fence into these yards.
Okay.
So, in other words, those properties are essentially status quo. We measure the site triangle the way it's always been measured, and we keep the fences where we've always kept them. But on the lower speed roads and the 1 lane each way is where the availability comes up for these other modified fences.
And then one more question on the sketch that you've done for the corner lot.
Sure.
Looking at the driveway, you've drawn in sight distance triangles in the front, and I want to be sure I understand here. The fences that are allowed to be built in the front would never be fences that would have to be controlled by a sight distance triangle.
Correct.
Okay, so those are there, I guess maybe for bushes?
Yes.
Okay.
That is
Perfect.
It's for anything that would be considered an obstruction that's not covered by the zoning ordinance.
Okay, but for fences in the front yard, there would never be a sight distance triangle based on what we're proposing.
Correct. Now, and sometimes people may do mailboxes and other things like that that may end up in a position where it's not safe. So we would also implement it in that point.
Okay, I understand. Thanks.
We have any other questions of Mr. Tahan? Comment? I guess the bigger question would be, are we all clear?
Yes, sir?
You comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Clear as mud. No,
That being the case, Mr. Newcomb.
The motion's to recommend that the text amendment be approved. Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan?
Aye.
Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye, we'll make that recommendation to council. Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate that, Bobby.
Item number 5 is Concord East Ridge Incorporated for a change of zoning from C2 to conditional G1 on property fronting 500 feet more or less along the eastern line of Monticello Avenue and 185 feet more or less along the northern line of 14th Street. Also fronts and is bounded by 16th Street and by Armstead Avenue. The premise is numbered 1500 Monticello Avenue. In front of you is both the change of zoning and a Granby development certificate application.
Thank you, Lee. So this request by Concord Eastridge is for conditional rezoning from C2 to conditional G1, and we have the Granby Development Certificate up here for you as well. This is the site on your screen, currently the former HRT headquarters, the equivalent of 2 city blocks in this part of the corridor. To the north, you have 16th Street, and to the south, 14th Street, Monticello to the west, Armistead to the east. And the proposal is for a mixed-use development, commercial, multifamily. So here's the site right now, currently C2. You can see everything to your west. On the other side of Monticello is G1 or conditional G1. So the proposal, the site is approximately 2.1 acres, and it is for a 5-floor development with the first floor containing mainly 10,000 square feet of commercial, and then also they will have their residential amenities along Monticello as well. And then also for a parking deck to the south of the site for 365 parking spaces and 46 bicycle parking spaces. Here's the site plan right here. It is a condition, a proffer of the rezoning. So this is what will be attached to the ordinance. And here is a perspective that the developer has provided for us. And we're also looking at the elevations. This one on the top of your screen is actually the Armistead elevation, and then below that is the Monticello elevation. And then in the left-hand corner would be the north, and in the right is the 14th Street to the south. Some other perspectives for you. And I will go over, I'll leave it on this screen, and I'll go over some of the different characteristics of the rezoning and development certificate. The corridor that it's located in, G1, there's been a lot of different changes there. It's definitely under transformation, mainly from automobile-dependent uses to a more mixed-use urban corridor. And the proffers, which I'll read in a second, is for the site plan to be for the project to be in keeping with the site plan and for the elevations. And then whenever we do a Granby development certificate, we have different criteria, different development standards that we measure the whole project by. And I'll just go over those 7 standards. So the first one is building placement, wanting that Monticello Principal Street to have the building as pulled up as close to it for as much of it as possible. And the requirement is for a 75% build to line, and the developer is proposing 100% on Monticello, so that's good. The floor area ratio, which is a ratio of the total area of all the floors of the building, is for a 4.0 or less, and they are in keeping with that. We also have a lot coverage ratio, that you cannot take up more than 80% of the lot itself, and they are in keeping with that with their courtyards. There is also an open space ratio, not just lot coverage, but open space, and that they have to provide at least 15% of that open space, or of that space that's not covered, as usable open space, and they are meeting that as well. And along Monticello, which is their principal street, we have what we call a fenestration requirement, asking for at least 50% of that ground floor facade to be transparent, and transparent meaning up to a depth inside the building of at least 5 feet, and they are meeting that requirement. The next 2 requirements are actually waivable if the developer chooses, and that is for a required use of ground floor area, meaning we want active uses along that ground floor frontage of the building along Monticello, that principal street. And the requirement is for 65%, and the developer is actually proposing 82% for that, so that's a good thing. And the parking location access is also a development standard that's waivable, and the proposal is to provide a standard that is in keeping with the ordinance, and they're not asking for actually any waivers at all. This will be the first G1 development that we've seen that has not asked for any waivers, so that's a good thing. And lastly, I said I'd read the proffers. I'll just go through real quick. The site shall be developed in accordance with the conceptual site plan attached hereto and marked as Exhibit A, entitled Preliminary Conceptual Plan for the 1500 Monticello Avenue, dated May 30th, 2014, as prepared by their engineer and subject to any revisions that's made during the city's site plan review process. The site shall also be developed to reflect the general massing, materials, and design for the north, south, and west building elevations as depicted in the conceptual elevation plan, which is that slide I showed you right there. And that's attached here too, provided by Street Sense Inc., subject to any required revisions made again during the city's site plan review process. And also that off-street parking spaces shall be provided on the property at a ratio of not less than 1.5 per dwelling unit. So with that being said, we do have a letter in your packet from the Ghent Business Association that is in support of this project, and the Downtown Norfolk Civic League has also included a letter in your packet stating that they do not have any opposition to the request. With that, staff does recommend approval of both requests, the rezoning and the Granby Development Certificate. And if there are any questions from staff regarding the rezoning or development certificate, I'll take that.
Thanks, Matthew. Do we have any questions, Commissioners? Mr. Simons?
All right. The developer does have a brief presentation that he'd like to make.
Is that Mr. Kong? Here to speak in favor of this application is the applicant, Ms. Che Kong. Chi Kong.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming, sir. Go right ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chi Kong. I'm a representative of Concord Eastridge. For those who don't know, Concord Eastridge is a let's enter.
Mr. Kong, if you could give us your mailing address for the record.
Yes, I filled in the form with the mailing address.
If you would state your mailing address for our clerk to
Oh, certainly.
include in the record.
901 North Glebe Road, Suite 350, Arlington, Virginia, 22203. The Concord Eastridge is a real estate development company with a focus on public-private partnerships with offices in Arlington, Virginia, and Scottsdale, Arizona. Project covers a wide range, including mixed uses, student housing, residential office, retail, hotel conference centers, and special purpose buildings. Case in point is the HRT new facilities on 18th Street. That's how we got involved in this parcel, in this development of 1500 Monticello. It started in 2007 when Concord Eastridge was selected as the master developer to redevelop HRT's existing facilities on 18th Street. And it's a two-phase project. Phase one is HRT's facilities, admin building, and buses, operations, and dispatch, which currently located on 18th Street. Phase two is 1500 Monticello. As you know, HRT has consolidated all their operations on 18th Street, thereby freeing up the land. And since from 2009 to 2012, we designed, constructed, delivered new facilities, thereby freeing up 1500 Monticello. Towards the end of 2012, beginning of 2013, we began the entitlement process, and which involves drafting a contract for the sale and purchase of the land, and including reaching out to local development groups and dialogue with the city staff to figure out what is the best use for the land that would benefit all the stakeholders. Which takes us to today. We're in the entitlement phase, and looking forward, once entire entitlement is completed, we'll go through the land purchase, and then if everything goes smoothly, we'll begin design development in fall of 2014. It will take us into 2015, and subsequently we'll apply for a building permit application, and then we'll start construction 2015 through 2016. During the entitlement process, we started a dialogue and reached out to the local community groups. The list is, as you can see on the slide here, and the communication has been through email, telephone calls, and presentations, and we receive feedback and try to incorporate their comments and inputs into our design and thought process. Let me talk a little bit about a thought process behind the project and how we conceptualized it. We're targeting a demographic that are millennials. These are folks in their 20s to 35-year-olds. They include new college graduates and young couples. They're professionals, work for government contractors, and folks who work for the military. We anticipate drawing new residents from within the Hampton Roads area who are relocating, as well as new residents from outside the Hampton Roads area, including outside of the state. Programming for the project. It's currently designed, we're proposing 207 units. It's a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms. And our target demographic is very tech savvy, so we'll have Wi-Fi throughout the project. It'll include an exercise room, common areas, entertainment centers, business centers on the first level. There'll be 3 outdoor courtyards, including an outdoor swimming pool and a dog park. Parking will be allocated in a garage, limited number of surface lot and on-street public parking. Included in the program is approximately 10,000 square feet of retail. And we're thinking at this point it's quick service restaurants and services that will that fills the market need and that it's users that a market can support. And we're thinking coffee and bagels, quick bites, wraps and sandwiches, pet grooming services, real estate offices. This is the first floor plan. As you can see, Monticello Avenues on the top. And just to give you a sense of how we laid out the different spaces. The retail's at the corner of 16th and Monticello Avenue because that is what we think will create a retail cluster. The new Chick-fil-A's to the right. This new project coming up, the Element on the northeast, and of course 21st Street further up on the north top right-hand corner. The lobby is aligned with the 15th Street vista. If you can draw a line axis to cut through the lobby, and through the lobby, a resident entering the lobby will be able to see the courtyard and the swimming pool beyond a set of glass doors. The parking is located to the south along 14th Street with entry and exits on Olmsted Avenue so that you have multiple exits as cars come in and out. And it provides a lot of stacking room as well. In the middle, courtyards where the swimming pool is located. The general purpose courtyard is to your right, and then a dog park sandwiched between the garage and residential units. It's a small court for a dog park and kind of quiet park for visual interest. Along Monticello Avenue, as you can see, active users are located along Monticello Avenue, retail, and it wraps around 16th Street with setback along for deeper setback Monticello and 16th Street for create opportunities for outdoor seating. As you come around, go south of Monticello Avenue, the exercise and common areas will face Monticello Avenue to activate the street with, and then you have the parking garage with, they'll be treated with a steel mesh on Monticello Avenue to create a sculptural element. On the upper levels, you can see it's like an inverted E that is extended from the first floor plan. And on each floor, there'll be a mix of 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and studio units that are spread throughout. The parking will be designed so that you can access each floor from the parking deck. So if groceries in the back of your car, drive up to your level, and then you can walk directly into your floor. This is a massing concept. It shows you the thought process behind treating the Monticello Avenue facade. So it wraps around 16th Street. You can see how the faces, the facades, come in and out, create visual interest, and landscaping along Monticello Avenue and 16th Street as well to create a variety and visual interest for pedestrian walking down Monticello Avenue. Here's a larger enlarged elevation of the 15th Street axis vista. creating an architectural feature. So to signify this is the main entry to the apartment complex. And we try to use a variety of a language, a toolkit to make it an interesting process, create variety. Vertically, you see the patterning, the windows, and then with color and texture, you got push and pull the facade to provide interest and variety. On the bottom left is a view from the north. It shows you more clearly how the retail component wraps around the 16th Street, and it's distinguished from the residential use above it with different treatments in the facade and different elevation treatment. On the south side, where you see a perspective of the garage, we treat it a little differently because it is a different use, a parking garage. How do you treat it nicely? So we thought that a steel mesh would create a different look. So during the day, it's kind of transparent, it's kind of lacy, and it's kind of light and airy. It's not quite obvious from here, but you can also make out at the on each level there is a covered bike rack storage that also creates an opportunity for a sculptural element. This the middle, the west elevation shows you the entire facade, and the concept is as you move from right to left, you have the steel materials, and then you have the garage stair tower separating garage use and the residential use, and the residential and active use as you move northwards on Monticello Avenue. The top elevation is the towards Olmsted Avenue. You see the swimming pool and the courtyard in the middle. To the right is the dog park with the green wall on the side of the garage, and the courtyard on the right side is a general purpose courtyard, and towards the extreme right, it's where you see surface parking to serve the retail. The north elevation is on the bottom left. And in the middle portion of first floor, you see that on the right-hand side, you have the retail wraparound, you have the loading dock area, and then you have the surface parking to serve the retail users. And the bottom right elevation is the south elevation. This is a study that helps us understand how we want to use the language of the color and materials and texture to distinguish and create interest in the facade. You move from garage on the right-hand side, the stair tower in the middle, and then the residential active use on the first floor. We try to use off-the-shelf items, like standard-sized windows, but use them in a pattern to create interest. If you look at the pictures on the right-hand side, the one on the bottom left shows you what the screen mesh is going to look like. These are pictures taken of existing products, existing projects. So the metal screen during the day will look lacy, open, kind of airy. But in the evening when it's lit up, it glows and it kind of flows, so it creates a focal point, which we think is a very nice asset to the project. And the rest of the pictures shows you how with the same materials, different color and texture, you can create a lot of interest and variety. Great. Well, we're very excited about this project. We've been working on it since 2007. And it's been wonderful working with HRT and the city staff. We look forward to taking the next steps and moving this project forward.
Well, we appreciate you coming, Mr. Kung. I think we're all excited about this project. A couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
The HRT facility that you built and the one that you're proposing are two divergent projects. And I'm just curious as to what niche does your company really have? Are you in more of the specialized industrial work that you did for HRT, or are you in the more residential type work that this project involves?
Well, we do both. We like, we do complex projects that require staying power, and we're willing to roll up our sleeves and work with the stakeholder, property owners and stakeholders in order to work out, what they need for their, for their institutions or the agencies, and then we try opportunities to make sure it works for everybody, including for us and our investors.
How many on-site parking spaces will you have there? Do you recall?
We will have 344 spaces, not including 26 on-street public parking.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is this going to be a wood frame building or a concrete building?
It's been a concrete podium with wood frame on top.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We do want to acknowledge, also here in favor of this application, but does not wish to speak, Mr. Daniel Hassett. Thank you, sir. Any comments from commissioners? I can tell you from my perspective, Mr. Kung, I'm very pleased to see that this project looks like something that fits very, very neatly in what we're trying to accomplish along that corridor of our city. We appreciate you coming forward with this idea. I appreciate you coming forward with this idea, and I hope that you can be successful going forward.
The motion to recommend that the change of zoning and the Granby Development Certificate be approved. Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan?
Aye.
Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye. We'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck.
All right. Next item before us is number 7. This is the East Beach Marketplace for a special exception. Operated commercial drive-through on property fronting 847 feet more or less along the southern line of East Little Creek Road, 1,185 feet more or less along the northern line of Flower Field Road, and 454 feet along the western line of Shore Drive. Premises numbered 4231 East Little Creek Road. This is an out parcel of that shopping center.
Thank you, Lenny. I do want to acknowledge the applicant who is here but does not wish to speak, Melissa Dresden. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chair, noting that there's no opposition, we've been thoroughly briefed. I call for the question.
The motion to recommend that the special exception be approved subject to conditions contained in the staff report. Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan?
Aye.
Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
Mr. Fraley?
Aye. We'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck.
Next application before you is number 9. This is Bobbywood for a special exception operating an eating and drinking establishment on property fronting 41 feet more or less along the western line of Granby Street, beginning 30 feet more or less from the northern line of West Plume Street, and extending northwardly. Premises numbered 143 through 145 Granby Street.
Thank you, Lenny, and I note that we don't have any opposition, but I do want to acknowledge that the applicant is here to answer the question, Mr. Robert Huber.
Yes.
Do I need to get up there?
Not unless you feel a burning desire to, sir.
All right.
Any question or comment from commissioners on this application? Mark?
No. The motion to recommend the special exception be approved subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan?
Aye.
Mr. Hales?
I'd like to welcome Mr. Huber back home again. Looking forward to you opening your restaurant. My wife and I are big fans, so I can't wait to go. I say aye.
I appreciate it.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Mr. Fraley?
Welcome back, Mr. Huber.
Thank you, sir.
Wish you much success. Aye. We'll make that recommendation to council.
All right. Next application is the Grilled Cheese Bistro LLC for a special exception operating eating and drinking establishment on property fronting 97 feet more or less along the western line of Granby Street and 165 feet more or less along the southern line of West Freemason. Premises numbered 345 Granby Street.
And I acknowledge that we don't have any opposition to this application. Do want to acknowledge the presence of the applicant, Ms. Dina Taylor, and Mr. Chris Strebling. Thank you. Lenny?
All right. The motion to recommend the special exception be approved subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan?
Aye.
Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
and Mr. Fraley.
Aye, we'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck.
All right. Next application is Mo's Southwest Grill for a special exception, operating eating and drinking establishment on property fronting 201 feet more or less along the eastern line of Granby Street, 612 feet more or less along the southern line of East Little Creek Road, 608 feet more or less along the western line of Virginia Avenue, and 573 along the northern line of Louisiana. Premises numbered 7550 Granby Street, Suite 40.
And I note that we have no opposition.
Mr. Chair, noting that there's no opposition and we've been thoroughly briefed, I call for the question.
The motions recommend that the special exception be approved, subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Dr. Newman,
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan,
Aye.
Mr. Hales,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
I want to say real quickly, this is one of the perfect examples of a type of use that I think we could create a situation where maybe administratively they could be given a special exception, or maybe zoning wise not require one for this type of use, so that looking at this user, it's not the type of business where you're going to go in and likely drink more than one drink. You have to get back in line and wait another 10 minutes. And they're not open late, and there's no entertainment. So just maybe,
Is that from personal experience?
maybe. But maybe something that this body and city council can talk about at our next joint meeting would be
Yeah.
maybe revising our regulations for special exceptions in this manner. I vote aye.
Yeah, we are going through a whole list of people here, many of which are probably not going to be an issue, so
Yeah.
your point is well taken. And Mr. Fraley?
Aye.
Thank you. Next application, the Lizard Cafe for a special exception, operating eating and drinking establishment on property fronting 109 feet more or less along the southern line of East Main Street, 247 feet more or less along the western line of Martins Lane, premises numbered 109 East Main Street, Suite 150.
And I note that we do have the applicant and another supporter here in support of this application, neither of which wishes to speak. Do want to acknowledge Mr. Michael Purcell and Ms. Sarah Pishko.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair, noting that there's no opposition and we've been thoroughly briefed, I call for the question.
The motion to recommend the special exception be approved, subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Dr. Newman,
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan,
Aye.
Mr. Hales,
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Echo my prior comments, yes.
and Mr. Fraley.
Ditto Martin's prior comments for me as well. Aye.
All right. We now move to number 13, the Norfolk Tap Room for a special exception, operating entertainment establishment with alcoholic beverages on premises numbered 42, on property fronting 42 feet more or less along the western line of Granby Street, and 100 feet more or less along the northern line of West Main Street, premises numbered 101 Granby Street.
And I note that we have no opposition.
Mr. Chair, seeing as we have no opposition and we've been thoroughly briefed, I call for the question.
Motions to recommend that the special exception be approved, subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Dr. Newman,
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan,
Aye.
Mr. Hales.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Fraley.
Aye.
All right. Next application is Poncho and Luigi.
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 Excuse me.
I thought he was briefed on how to say that.
I've got soccer on my mind. What can I tell you? For a special exception to operate an entertainment establishment with alcoholic beverages on property fronting 125 feet more or less along the eastern line of Colley Avenue and 185 feet more or less on the southern line of West 41st Street property, also fronts 100 feet along the western line of Mayflower Road, premises numbered 4012 Colley Avenue.
And I acknowledge the applicant here does not wish to speak. Mr. Ramirez?
I believe we probably need to do a presentation.
Yes, I was
think
gonna
we want
say.
to discuss their hours. Oh, they don't? Oh, all right, I'm sorry. We're good. My apologies.
And a Ms. Sarah Cobb?
I'm representing DW Boyd.
Pardon me, ma'am?
I'm with the company DW Boyd across the street.
Okay, and you are against this application?
Well, my boss is.
Presentation.
Okay, do we want to have a presentation? Matthew, go right ahead.
Sure thing. Okay, so this application by Pancho and Luigi's is a request for an entertainment establishment with alcoholic beverages. The site is located the most southernmost portion of the Highland Park neighborhood, right beside the Riverview Colonial Place neighborhood to the east, at the corner of Colley and West 41st Street. And what was for a short period of time, the Phoenix was the last establishment at that location. The North Colley corridor is primarily a mix of different commercial uses, some residential uses, some industrial uses, and the proposal is to use this establishment, just like the last one, as an entertainment establishment. The hours, I'll go over them. The proposal is for 11 a.m. to 2 a.m., 7 days a week, for hours of operation and hours for entertainment and alcohol indoors. The applicant did meet with the Civic League, and the Civic League has put a letter in front of you asking for conditional hours for the outdoor use, and the applicant has agreed to that. And those hours being 11 a.m. to midnight, Sunday through Thursday, for the outdoor use, and then until 2 a.m. Friday and Saturday for that outdoor use. And that is in keeping with the request from the neighborhood. The seating, 132 seats indoors, 36 seats outdoors, and a total capacity of 214. The entertainment options are for a 5-member live band, 6-member mariachi acoustic band to be rotating throughout, fashion shows, karaoke, comedian, and poetry reading, which are the 3 that we give any entertainment establishment. The applicant is proposing a substantial site plan. That's a part of the conditions. Substantial in terms of much more improvements than what we saw with the last applicant. Since the Phoenix opened, the Central Hampton Boulevard area plan was adopted as an addendum to our Plan Norfolk 2030. So lots of good recommendations in there for what we expect to see along this Colley Avenue corridor. So the applicant has agreed to meeting all of the different recommendations of the Central Hampton Boulevard plan, and that is incorporated in this conceptual site plan that is a part of the conditions of this application. That includes the landscaping along 41st Street and along the sidewalk's edge on Colley Avenue, and removing 2 curb cuts and putting back in grass and a verge on Colley Avenue and a street tree. And that's that plan in front of you. There's also a few more improvements that I think you saw on your field trip, and those are all in the plan too. So with that, I did mention the Highland Park letter of support, and the applicant is here if you have any questions.
Thank you, Matthew. Any questions of Matthew, Commissioners?
Staff does recommend approval.
The applicant is here. You are in full compliance in terms of the recommendations from the Civic League about amplification and no service after midnight?
The outdoor.
Yes, sir. Come to the podium, sir, if you don't mind.
Excuse my gear or my USA.
That's quite all right. If I weren't sitting here, I'd be looking like you. Give us your name and mailing address, if you would, sir.
My name's Ernesto Alonso. Mailing address is 621 West 26th Street, Norfolk.
And you are in full compliance in terms of your operations adhering to what the Civic League had requested?
100%.
Okay. Comments? Questions?
Not of the applicant.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Cobb, we'd certainly like to get you at this podium so you can tell us why your boss is against it.
I apologize for you.
Quite all right. Give us your name and mailing address, if you would.
Sarah Cobb, the office, 4003 Colley Avenue, Norfolk, Virginia, 23508.
Okay. You're against it? Your boss is against it?
Well, mostly, this is my first time, so it would be more questions. Parking and need for security, because we run a government contracting office. We work on habitability on naval ships. And our hours are from 7 a.m. to 4:30, but we have a 24-hour tech, and sometimes I have to go in and go, like, take care of paperwork if there's an emergency and they're getting ready to leave for deployment. So it's more questions on people being outside and just someone interfering with if there is a drunk person, I'm not saying, but I mean, interfering with the company trying to, get to the base and load up equipment and so on and so forth.
How long have you operated there?
Mr. Boyd has been there since 1989, so 28 years.
Did you have those problems with the previous operators of this site?
There is a bullet hole still in the bathroom from, I don't know what year, but it was several years back when there was a bar across the street.
And that's the only concern, that one bullet hole?
I'm sorry, that's what he told me to talk about.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you know whether or not your operations have been impaired at all as a result of prior operators at this particular location?
No, sir.
All right. Any questions, commissioners? Thank you. Unless you have something more to add.
No, sir.
All right.
I will point out that with the curb cut being removed on Colley Avenue, that does allow for one additional on-street parking space that will be returned, where there possibly two, but at least one, that would be available to anyone to use. It's on-street parking.
Well, as all operators of these types of operations, Ms. Cobb, they're under constant scrutiny. If we do have circumstances which end up in activities which are not consistent with the environment we want to try to maintain, be assured that appropriate action will be taken. And we ask if you have any of those concerns to bring those to the attention of the planning staff, and we'll act appropriately. And you can pass that along to your boss. Thank you. Lenny?
The motion to recommend that the special exception with the hours as noted at the hearing be approved subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Dr. Newman?
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan?
Aye.
Mr. Hales?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes.
And Mr. Fraley?
Aye. We'll make that recommendation to council. Good luck.
We now move to the application number 15, Leontes, for a special exception to operate an entertainment establishment with alcoholic beverages in a building measuring 588 feet more or less in width, 288 feet in depth, and located in the Janif Shopping Center. This is premises numbered 5802 East Virginia Beach Boulevard, Suite 140.
Thank you, Krishan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The application before you is for Leontes at 5802 East Virginia Beach Boulevard, Suite 140 in the Janif Shopping Center. It is a site previously occupied by the Wasabi's Eating and Drinking Establishment. It is within the Janif Shopping Yard, so it is surrounded by a mix of commercial uses. And the proposal before you is for an entertainment establishment by special exception in a C3 zoning district. What's before you, the hours of operation, what's listed is the prior operator, Wasabi, again, was eating and drinking establishment. The list of hours there and how they operated is detailed before you. The proposal before you, the hours of operations for Leontes will be 8 a.m. until 2 a.m. 7 days a week. Hours for the sale of alcoholic beverages, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. 7 days a week. 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. 7 days a week for hours for entertainment also, with a seating capacity of 196 seats indoors for a total capacity of 240, and a wide array of entertainment options, including cultural dance, 5-member band, DJ with a dance floor, fashion shows, performance dance, karaoke, poetry, readings, and comedians. And given the sensitivity of the area, we've had 2 previous entertainment establishments that have opened up that are of this scale with the type of entertainment options that have been listed that the applicant is requesting. We have requested, and the applicant has agreed to an 18-month special exception. After that 18 months, the applicant would have to come down and renew that special exception, and that gives us the opportunity to analyze any safety concerns or anything of that nature that may arise within those 18 months. Staff does recommend approval of this special exception. The Lake Taylor Civic League has sent down a letter in support of the special exception, and the applicant is here with any questions that you may have. With that, stand for any questions.
Thank you, Krishan. Any questions, Commissioner? I'll turn this on. Thank you, Krishan. Any questions, commissioners, from Krishan? Thank you, Krishan. I do want to note that the applicant is here, does not wish to speak. I'd like to ask the applicant, Ms. Watnola, if she would mind coming to the podium just to respond to a few inquiries from yours truly.
Stephanie,
Name and address, please.
Stephanie Watnola, 3305 Georgie Court, Chesapeake, Virginia.
Good to see you again. Thank you for coming.
Sure.
I'm glad that you've agreed to consider this 18-month trial period. I think our concerns have to do with the history at the Janif area. Before you, we haven't had this type of a use in what we call the original Janif shopping yard, if you will. We want to be very, very sensitive that we don't disrupt this major commercial corridor for our city, and at the same time provide an opportunity for you to be successful in this endeavor. So I just wanted to express my appreciation and thanks to you for agreeing to the staff recommendation of this trial. And
Yeah, it's definitely not a problem. I've definitely learned my lesson dealing with other establishments that I've had. And like when I went to the Lake Taylor Civic League, they were totally against me until I went in and I told them, you know, we're not going to be open 8 a.m. to 2 a.m. 7 days a week. I'm not a machine. I can't work like that. So I explained to them, you know, the hours. If somebody wants to do a baby shower on a Sunday at 9 a.m. to 2, I have to fit within the rim of the ordinance. As far as at night, I have the best security company money can buy. And I don't think it's going to be more of my clientele. It's more of that area of keeping out certain individuals that it's just not going to be tolerated. You know, I mean, I didn't deal with it at Sassy's, and I'm not going to deal with it over there either. I'm getting too old for that.
Commissioners, any question or comment?
Wish you luck.
Thanks. It should be good. It's a centrally located area for the customer base for Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Suffolk, which is mainly why I picked it. I love downtown Norfolk, but a lot of my customers don't like driving down here. Sorry. So we're trying to centrally locate ourselves, but still stay in the city. So hopefully it'll work out. It will work out. It better work out. A lot of money going over there. It better work out.
Good deal. Thank you, Ms. Watnolan.
You're welcome.
To you. And we have no opposition, Mr. Vice Chair.
Seeing as we have no opposition and we've been thoroughly briefed, I call for the question.
The motion to recommend the special exception be approved subject to the conditions contained in the staff report. Dr. Newman.
Aye.
Ms. McQuillan.
Good luck to you. Aye.
Mr. Hales.
Aye.
Mr. Thomas.
Yes.
Mr. Freely.
Aye, we wish you luck, and we'll make that recommendation to council. Thank you. With that, Mr. Melito, unless you have something on your desk you need to apprise us of?
There were a few items left on the regular agenda. Mr. Homewood, do we need to hit anything that we didn't finish on the 10th floor?
Mr. Chairman, under director's comments, all I wanted to do is bring you up to date on where council is with respect to y'all's recommendations.
In the regular session.
This isn't going to take more than a very few minutes. I think council's now completely caught up with your recommendations and has acted on everything that you have sent to them at this point. Most recently, of course, was Talbot Hall, and that was recommended for, or that was approved as you had recommended. All of the other items have been have gone exactly the way you've recommended. So, with respect to future action items, Jeff unfortunately is not here, but we noticed that there are still a few items on the rainbow chart that do not have champions from the commission. And of course, I suspect that was you're leaving Ms. Austin some items to become champion of. And I'm sure she appreciates your kindness in doing that. But if you get a chance to look at it and there's something you're particularly interested in, let us know. We are finding that it's very helpful to have you. It's helpful to us, and hopefully it will be helpful to you all. That your involvement early on in the process.
George, can you send us an updated rainbow chart so we know which ones have an assignment?
I think we've got it in the Dropbox.
Okay,
It's been,
good deal.
we've been trying to keep it in the Dropbox. I think the one that we distributed 2 weeks ago is in Dropbox. But I'll check on that and make sure it is. Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I did not have anything else. Lenny, did you?
The downtown flood map.
Oh, yeah. We received notification from FEMA about the downtown flood map. We received notification. We did not receive the map, which Bobby and Lenny are trying to track down and figure out what's going on with that. But we are now actually on a ticking clock to have the downtown flood map reviewed and approved. You will have to, this is something that is going to come to you all because we will have to amend the floodplain ordinance in the zoning ordinance to reflect, to incorporate that map. And we're going to have to add a new flood zone to our map. Actually, I think we don't have to do it for the downtown map because I think we took care of adding that. But the coastal maps, which we haven't gotten yet, although we expected them last week, the coastal maps we now know are going to add a zone that we didn't anticipate. So we're going to have to add that zone into the floodplain ordinance. So this is something that's going to be coming your way, and there will be there is a time limit which the city has to act. So as soon as we get it all, we'll send it. We'll get it to you. We'll schedule an item on one of your informal meetings to go over it in great detail, and then we'll get it on to a future agenda.
We will have some public outreach requirements on both of these to property owners in the areas directly affected. And we'll certainly, as we start to schedule those, we'll make you aware of them.
Thank you, George. Yes, ma'am. Go
Along
ahead.
those lines, I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is there anybody from the planning staff planning on attending the Monday meeting with Senator Payne at ODU and several other folks from the congressional delegation dealing with flooding, current flooding from 9 to 12?
We are aware of this meeting. I believe the invitation has come through the city. We've all been sent a copy of it. I'm not sure who's representing the city, but there will be representation there.
But from planning, not necessarily.
I won't be there. I'm otherwise committed.
Yeah, the city has a flood awareness committee, which is directly under the management of Assistant City Manager Ron Williams and John Kiefer in Public Works. It includes the city's information sector. It includes our emergency management director. It includes Bobby and myself and quite a few other people. This is the group that created the flood page that you find on the Norfolk.gov. And there will be representation there.
Andrew, do you plan on attending?
I'm going from 9 to 11. I can't be there the entire time.
You can report back to us.
If we went, it would be like this: money, money, money,
I'll make sure.
More
to bring
money.
that advance.
money. There are answers. It
I'm
just
typically pretty
takes
good.
money.
Okay, that is George. If we have any comments from commissioners, I did have one. First of all, let me thank Andrea for taking the message back to the sign folks last month. I trust they accepted your explanation.
Yes.
Good. Appreciate that. Have we had any action yet, George, on the zoning updates? With the new, didn't we hire a contractor or something that?
Yeah, I apologize. I've been spending an awful lot of time looking at my BlackBerry because we have the contract and We've been trying, between Adam and I, we've been trying to walk it around this building today to get all the necessary signatures on it, to make sure it gets executed in the current fiscal year. And
You got a few days yet, George.
so well, we have a few days, except for some of the critical people who need to sign off on it won't be here next week.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's a very short window.
Yeah.
So we hope to be under contract by the end of the week.
Okay, good deal. Any comments, any other comments from commissioners?
I'd like to request, the next mid-month meeting, can we get a briefing, or we get a briefing on how we are with those houses that Krishan worked on, that are in smaller lots, and they're going through the design review, just to see how they're progressing along through, we talked about following those 6 houses.
Oh, yeah.
The entire process. So,
Commissioner Hales, I can give you some more insight on that. Currently, right now, they still have to go through site plan approvals, and they just submitted, that's one, and they still haven't submitted for site plan, even for a preliminary for the lot in question that went through the rezoning. As far as review of the designs, they are still working with Ron Moore to work out the designs there. The plans that were submitted at Planning Commission, for example, showed carriage houses. Zoning would not allow a carriage house. And also, the drive aisle that was presented, the drive aisle was too narrow. So again, a lot of that will be fleshed out at site plan, but there will be minor tweaks to the designs, but I will be happy to bring them to you.
Is the designs coming along? Are they?
He's still working with Ron Moore with those. They're coming along. They're working with Greg Freck, who's the contractor, the designer of those houses. But as far as I know, they're still working with Ron on.
Yeah,
all
Greg
sides.
is an architect from Virginia Beach. He's actually very good and has done an awful lot of beach properties. So we expect to be able to bring him to our point of view.
Good luck.
We'll do that.
I'd like to see Ron come to our next meeting and just give us, even if it's a 5-minute, this
Sure.
is all we've done so far, but just to see the process. I agree.
Right, see how the design's evolving. I think that's
Yeah.
what and then of course, when we get the final design. it'd be nice
Well,
to-
there's a lot of interest
Something
on
to
your
consider.
part as well as the East Ocean View Civic League, and I think we're compelled to keep both parties informed as we go through this, because everybody put their faith in the process,
Right.
and that's only going to be workable as long as it meets everybody's requirements.
And I get to
So-
see the president, he serves specifically quite a bit, so.
Well, we've been hearing, I think, actually,
By time, when he
we
asks
had an
the question.
email from Mr. Green asking where it was, and we told him we didn't have any finished products yet, but that we were in discussions with them.
Well, it's probably good if we could get an update, that'll be fine, at least Matt is up to speed and doesn't get caught with his pants down, as they say.
Will do.
All right,
All right.
thank you, Krishan. Do we have any other comments from commissioners?
I'll echo my prior comment. I don't know if we have a scheduled joint meeting with council, but I think top of my list would be the special exceptions and whether we can get some authority to revise them. And get that meeting.
Yeah, it would be probably good on our part to, I'm sitting here calling the roll. It was fairly redundant.
Right.
And most of these, if we can come up with some standards that say, this point, you do this, above that, you do something else. And if we can get that into some language that my friend across my seating can handle.
Yeah, we can,
I'm sure he can handle it.
we can manage the language.
Yes.
It's just, and it may not, it may be something to discuss with council, it may not be something that you'll find there's any resistance on, or not much resistance on at council, but I know there are also some, the public safety staff and the public safety personnel still have some reasons for wanting to continue to do things the way we've been doing them for a long time and come as far as we've come over that time. So maybe there's a way for them to
Maybe we
be a
can
part of that
meeting with them.
discussion as well.
And you're not suggesting getting rid of the special exception, more than you have to go through the body, it could be administratively done.
There are a number of different ways to do it. That's one option.
So you could still pull it if you had to, issues, but you just wouldn't have to come through, just speed up the process, wouldn't have a good request, I think.
It's a smart processing issue, really.
Pending Adam's insight, yeah, that's certainly one of the options. Let him work that out.
I do want to state for the record that our vice chairman is happy that the Monticello Avenue project does have a swimming pool.
Any update on our new member? From
I haven't gotten in. I've reached out to our new member and
She was appointed right at the time she went on
vacation.
onto an extended vacation.
Right.
It's our understanding she'll be back sometime that first full week in July. So hopefully she will join us at our meeting on the 10th of July.
Right. That's great. Any other comment? We stand adjourned.
Good job.